Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hope and Samson. We're going to talk today about how to do Christmas on a budget.
Bah humbug.
All right, just right off the gate. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right at the start, I'm just going to say and preface this video with I do not feel qualified to talk about this because I have finished all of my shopping for Christmas. And then I did research for this video. So a lot of this, I am like retrospectively regretting so many of my purchases and decision making in the last month. So I just feel super underqualified and you're just going to have to help me out with that insecurity because it's real.
Yeah, so that's our disclaimer.
We're
still learning.
It's not Samson because,
I don't buy
any of the shopping. It's just me.
Hope does all the shopping.
We're going to go over some statistics about what people normally do during the Christmas season, if this is a problem, Christmas spending, and then how to go about it the right way. You guys ready? 21.5% of Americans go into debt or further into debt because of Christmas. 46% of millennials and parents with kids under 18 are most willing to take on debt during Christmas. Americans plan to spend $60 on average on decorations for the holiday season. And shoppers are planning to spend on average $835 for gifts this holiday season, down from $851 last year. You know the one that cut the most is the $60 on decorations. I've spent way more than that this year because we got a new house and everything fits differently. And so I've just really rationalized my way around it and I've spent more than $60.
I would say all of this goes back to expectations.
Yeah.
I think there are healthy expectations that you could set as you're going into the Christmas season of what you want to spend. And that's where I think budgeting comes in handy is that if you're kind of know who you're going to get gifts for, how you're going to do it, and how much you're going to spend, typically you can control yourself when it comes to you're at the store and you see something, that is way out of budget for one person. I was talking to, actually my barber recently about, Christmas and birthday shopping for his kids. And he was saying how, his daughter typically wants more things. But the things that his son wants is always like really expensive electronics. And so they might buy more things like more clothes and stuff like that for their daughter, but the one box of an Xbox or whatever they buy for their son is worth way more. And so they're always trying to figure out how to equal out, have to balance out. And I think one freeing thought that you can have is that, sometimes you can splurge maybe on one person and not necessarily feel like guilty if you don't do that for another kid, right? It's not always about...
Oh, see, I completely disagree with that.
Oh, you do?
Yes. Yeah. So I think you have to be very methodical. That's why I have a spreadsheet and and this is actually what we recommend too, is we have a spreadsheet. We started it in November and we listed off all of the people in our lives that we planned on purchasing gifts for, and then made the decision about how much to spend for each category. So I think that's true for categories. Mm-hmm. Like if you had a daughter and a son, I think that's the same category. Like I don't think you can spend more on one than the other, but versus like a daughter and son versus a friend or a brother-in-law or sister-in-law or cousins, I think those are separate categories, but I think if they're in the same category, you have to spend like the same dollar amount. Where I get into trouble is I even go way overboard and I'll accidentally go $35 for one person, even though I budgeted $30. And I'm like, well, then I got to buy this person $5 worth. And then that $5 gift turns into an $8 gift. I'm like, well, that's another $3. And it just goes back and forth because I try so hard to keep it equal.
So here's where I'm going to very kindly disagree with my wife. Because I know this is not true, because we spend more on one kid than we do the other all the time. Our older one, Charlie, who's 3, who's is now self-aware and, knows, what big gifts and little gifts are, whatever. We will spend a little bit more on him than we will Louis, who's still a baby and has no idea what he's doing.
Haven't this Christmas season.
We do all the time. My idea is, you don't want to set these expectations that if I spend this much on this person, then it's the same amount on the other person.
I think it's irrational to do that. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's irrational because then you're spending $500 on everybody. You don't need to do that. I think if you do end up getting a big gift, you probably can distinguish and say, hey, you know what? This is going to be a family gift. So if this video game system is going to be for everybody, not just for you, you know, the one kid. And so I think that's a good way of qualifying that. But know that you don't have to do that every time, because I think it frees you up to say, okay, you know what? This Christmas, this person might feel like they get a little bit more, but the reality is there's, you know, probably other things you can do around
this video is basically going to be a therapy session for me. Like, I'm just going to glean everything that Samson has to say and be like, okay, I don't need to feel guilty. That's just one less $3 that I need to go spend because it's uneven.
Can I tell you the worst gift I got? And it came from my wife.
Oh,
okay? Worst present I've ever gotten in my life.
This is why I have so many insecurities.
For my wonderful wife.
He is so hard to shop for.
It's not that.
And he never gives me direction. Like, it's never constructive. It's just always.
Here's the thing. I don't always know what I want, but I definitely know what I don't want. And so.
I think I need to tell the story. Actually, I'm not even sure which one you're going with.
You can tell the story, but let me just tell you my perspective first. Okay. So it's my birthday. It's first birthday we're married. And I open up the gift, the big gift that Hope got for me. I open it up. And what is it, babe?
I don't know which example you're going with.
It's a bathrobe.
Yes.
A bathrobe. It's not even like a nice bathrobe.
It was a plush white bathrobe. You want to know why? It's because we were at a fancy Airbnb and Samson couldn't get over this plush white bathrobe. Man, I really like this bathrobe. I wish I had a bathrobe like this. And then 3 or 4 months later, I'm like, you know what? I know exactly what to get him. He went on and on about this plush bathrobe at this Airbnb. I'm going to surprise him. He's going to be so shocked and surprised that I remembered.
Here, I was shocked and I was definitely surprised, but not in a good way. I was like, you got me a bathrobe?
It was a mistake, okay? It was a mistake.
Now I sound very ungrateful. She put a lot of effort into it.
But I always do. And
in
I
the
always
long run,
end up not being good at it. So, but I do think, you know, when I also think of other gifts that Hope has gotten me, you know, one, she put together a birthday party one year for me that was really sweet and really appreciative and probably cost just as much as the bathrobe did. But I think for me, I think that's what the point is that sometimes you think that, like, man, if I get this really expensive item or whatever, that person's really going to love it. And really, you know, I know it sounds like it's the old adage of it's the thought that counts, but there is something to that, right? Like the amount of time and effort and thought you put into something and you're communicating your true love in that, I think that matters more. Well, I'm going to have you watch this video on Christmas then, because every gift that I get you inevitably is like a dud. So I'm going to remind you. Remember what you said on the podcast? It's the thought that counts, and I love you.
I always remind myself that when you give me a gift.
Well, now we have proof, proof that that's how you feel. So
yeah, I will also say now in this season of our life, I don't even think, like, I could probably go into Christmas and not get a gift, and I think I'll be fine. Like I don't even know. I mean, I'm old enough to just buy. If I want something, I just buy it, right?
No, it's the Christmas spirit. Like, you have to give gifts and get gifts. That's what it's so special. I look forward to it every year.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it matters more to me. Like, to me, what's more enjoyable is like seeing Charlie open up.
It is so much fun.
Something big.
Y'all, I got
really
Charlie
excited.
the best presents too.
What do you get him?
We got him like a little permanent like tent structure.
What did we get him? That's what I meant to say. Not what did you get?
That you're gonna have to put together. Santa's workshop is gonna be full. This.
That's right.
Yep.
So,
but that goes into our next statistic. $15.2 billion is the estimated total of unwanted Christmas gifts for 2020.
Yeah.
Think about that number. And would you like to know what the most unwanted items are? Clothing and accessories are the most unwanted.
A bathrobe counts.
That comprises at least 85% of every gift I've ever bought anybody. It's clothing and house accessories.
There you go. Look at that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Clothing and accessories is the most unwanted, followed closely by household items. This is literally 85% of what I buy for people.
Yeah.
They probably just like throw away.
You know what I think of Hope whenever she gets kids? It's like if you're like, you always wanted an iPad and you tell your parents like, oh man, or an iPod. And you're like, man, I really, really want an iPod. And then finally they're like, we got you the thing you really wanted. You open it up and it's a Zune. Do you remember that?
I don't know what a Zune is.
Exactly. Because it has disappeared into the ether of human history.
Do any of y'all know what a Zune is?
It was back in the day, it was the Microsoft equivalent of an iPod. I remember I had one friend who owned a Zune and we made fun of him. We clowned on him for owning a Zune.
Well, according
but that's kind of what Hope does sometimes.
Okay. Pick on your wife. According to this survey, 23% of American adults state that their friends were the ones that gave them the worst presents, followed by mother and father-in-laws. Do you think that's accurate? I mean, I can't think of like a friend that gave me a present that I just hated.
My parents always try to give us money, and
they do great.
Yeah. And so I was like, no, don't.
Money's like
I don't
fail safe though.
But I don't like.
Well, not from from them. We don't want to take advantage, but like it's always so safe to give money. But then the fear is it's just not personal. Like I just gave you money.
It's personal to me. If I made that money, but if I could just give you $100.
Okay, now we're on a rant. So how do we save money during Christmas? Let's get back on track. Yeah. So a good way to do that is, like you were saying, give a gift to multiple people in a family, but also going together on group gifts. So because you can traditionally give less towards a group gift than you would purchasing something all on your own. So I mean, if for the office or even friend groups, like it's a good idea if you want to do something, a bigger gesture for somebody that's had a hard year, then it's a really good idea to go in together, and ultimately that just splits the cost up.
Yeah, I like it when families do. Our family is kind of, I don't know if we've done this intentionally, but now it's more about the gifts for the grandkids and our kids and our nieces and nephew. So like it's more about that than it is for
that's true,
about giving gifts to the adults. And I think if you can just kind of have that understanding, I think that's really special. I've also heard of families that do like, they'll do like a Secret Santa, or they'll pick individuals and they kind of do the little
It
swap.
does get pricey if you've got a big family and you want to buy for everybody.
Yeah.
Because there's 5 siblings in my family. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So, gotta personalize. Etsy. I spent all of our money on Etsy this year because I'm like, you know what? I really just want to support local businesses, and it's been a nightmare. Like, don't do it. Like, personalize everything. I have gotten like 100 emails about like misspellings or this or that. It's just been like, why didn't I just get like a candle from Target
or an Amazon gift card?
I feel so attacked this whole video. I
don't know if this video is going to be successful.
I don't think it will. We'll get no traction on this one.
No.
Another good one though is gift cards. You're right, because there's a lot of good ways you can save money. So like Ulta, for example, with cosmetics, right now they're doing like, you spend $100 on gift cards and then you get $20 back. In a gift card. So even Target did the same thing. Local businesses will do that. If you purchase gift cards, then you actually get an extra little buffer, which in the long run can save you money. So.
Yeah. I mean, a way that you can personalize a gift card or money if you give it is write a really nice handwritten note, right? To me, that's a good way of taking something that could seem impersonal, like just cash or a gift card, and then adding a note onto it. Really just, that's where you're really speaking from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
But also gift cards can get expensive if you do that for a lot of people. And so that's where buying an individual gift. That's probably why you got socks as a kid. Because somebody was like, I don't want to spend that much on that kid.
I think too, this year's kind of the first year that we really spent any money on Charlie, and he's 3. I think overbuying for younger kids is typically a mistake because they don't care. Like Charlie is just as excited to go to the Dollar Tree as he is to get a toy from, Amazon that's $50. So like, I think just knowing your pony and not going overboard on people that aren't really going to care about the quality of a product or whatnot. Little kids just don't care. And especially with ours, they get so many presents from other people. I think maybe last year we bought 1 present for Charlie.
I don't know. I can't remember. But I will say this one thing that stood out to me. I remember I clowned on my sister whenever I knew that she was doing this, back when my niece was just a little kid, and which she's still a little kid, but I found out what my sister would do is when, like, if it was my niece's birthday or big Christmas, where she get a lot of presents. So what she would do is she would take all the presents and she'd only let my niece open up one gift on the day of.
I love that strategy.
And then, like the next week or the next month, she can open up another gift and another gift. And sometimes, she wouldn't even get all the gifts or whatever. And so when I first started, I was like, that's dumb. I'll never do that. And then once I had a kid, I was like, I totally get it.
It's too much. It's too stimulating for them on Christmas Day, and their behavior starts to show.
Yeah, they turn into little monsters when they open up all those gifts.
It's just too much.
And so it takes this beautiful moment where you're like, oh, isn't that really cute? To like, they're fighting over toys.
And if you have little ones, it's a good idea to take inventory, because you've often got so many toys and so many, just to kind of give relatives ideas if they're wanting to spend money. A good way that I've tried with little success on this one, but I think on paper this should work. It just hasn't with my family for some reason. There's this app called Giftful, which you just copy and paste the link to any given product on any given website, and the recipient cannot see when something's been purchased, but it's a list essentially that you can send to all of your relatives, so they just have to click and buy. And it really does decrease that unwanted gift problem, because all of us have gotten things that we've eventually returned or whatever. I really do desire to get gifts that people want, and if they took part in this Giftful app, it could reduce the problem and my anxiety. But no. Samson, what did you do when I sent you the Giftful app?
I definitely ignored it.
Yeah.
And I never looked at it again.
Exactly. So maybe your family during this Christmas season is just better at being family than we are. I don't know.
No. Yeah, I mean, all that is great, but I think at the end of the day, like, maybe we put too much value on gifts than actually Christmas and what it's really all about. I was talking to one of my good friends, Pastor Clint, at North Church. And he was talking about how Thanksgiving is his favorite holiday. And I was asking why. He's like, because there's when you get together for Thanksgiving, it's just about family. It's about enjoying a good meal together and just getting to have fun together. There's not a lot of crazy expectations with Thanksgiving. And so I think with Christmas, if you don't keep tabs on it, if you're not careful, then it really quickly becomes about all the things and the material things. And I think that robs you of the beauty of what Christmas is about, right?
So good.
Yeah.
It's like my little therapy session. It's so true though, because I really am the one that gets more wrapped up into it and just more stressed about things, and just being perfect on the day of and making sure the kids enjoy themselves.
And we're speaking from a position, I think, of we're really blessed in a lot of ways, that we're blessed that we can give and we can buy presents. But there's also some folks, maybe some of you watching right now, that this is also the season you overextend yourself and you go into debt. You put everything on a credit card thinking you'll pay it off in January, or you'll pay it off once your tax refund comes in March or whatever. And that's how you're planning on getting rid of all this. The reality is that that's never a wise thing to do, right? It's never wise to spend money you don't have for things that you don't really need. And so this is a good time to say, hey, what can I realistically spend and what is beneficial? Because is it really a gift that you're getting for your kid if you're going into debt for it and you're putting your family in a worse position? Is that really a gift, or is that a loss at the end of the day? Yeah. So then, babe, let's transfer the conversation into how do we stop spending in this Christmas season?
So I think a lot of the discontentment or the desire to spend comes from expectations that are born in social media. And I think especially, during the Christmas season, everybody's got, posts about their Christmas tree or their decorations or, their shopping bags full of stuff and their goodies under the trees. So I think a lot of that, just taking a step back from social media, I know that helps me when I'm starting to feel discontent or wanting to buy more and more. And that usually just brings my frame of mind back to a good place.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think also for me, along with getting off social media, is thinking about ways that, I can be grateful for the things that I have. Right. Because like what you said, as you're looking at what other people have, and you start to get discontent with what you have. And then you're thinking, oh, well, maybe I deserve this. I should get this because I need it. And so you have a great tool. I see you do this all the time.
I keep a gratitude journal. So it's just one small entry at a time. And just like, it can be the smallest of things. Like, I mean, I'm a little bit of a like poetry hippie. So I'm like, I use flowery language a lot in there. Like Samson would probably think is ridiculous, but like you're just finding really, really a lot of beauty in really insignificant moments that wouldn't be sought after if you weren't looking for them, Yeah. And so I don't know. That's just kind of how I go about it.
I always know it's a good thing when Hope is writing in the gratitude journal. Like I remember when we were first were married, like I would like wake up and I'd see Hope and she's like tearing up and writing into her gratitude journal. At first I was scared, like, did I do something bad? Like what's going on here? And then I found out it was the gratitude journal. I was like, oh, this is great. She's grateful for what we were blessed with. And
it really does shift your focus onto what you already have, and you just don't need as much. And ultimately, that was a big tool in how I went a year without shopping, which there's another video about that. But just focusing on what you do have and what you have been given is so paramount.
Yeah. Another great thing that you can do is you can delete your shopping apps.
I did that too while I was going a year without shopping. And, I just don't think that we realize as a culture how much technology has really just deceived us and plays on us. And I mean, they're listening right now. If I were to say loud enough, some ad would come up across my social media page about whatever I say, because that's just how pinpoint these companies are about getting your attention, about getting your money, about making you discontent and wanting an item. We've all experienced that when we just casually mention an item in conversation, and then the next day it just comes across your feed like magically because they're playing on your emotions.
Yeah. And I think it's a healthy thing to do so that you are making it just that much harder to feed the greed inside you or that discontent feeling inside of you, that desire for more material things. You make it that much harder. I feel like, when I think about my Amazon app, how much I use that is because it's so easy. Like I don't even have to go into the shopping cart anymore. I just do the one click purchase and it's already here, right? 2 days later.
Like 5 minutes later, sometimes that's how it feels. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. And fast. So it's healthy to take times, especially with seasons like this. So, I'm just going to delete that. But then also you can physically stay away from stores.
Yes. Yeah. I keep reverting back to our other video about me not shopping for a year, but really, I didn't walk into a Target for a year because there's just too much temptation there. So if you're an alcoholic, say you're not going to walk straight into a bar and expect not to be affected by something. Like if you have a problem and you're trying to distance yourself from temptation, the place is not to go, Target. Okay? Like that place is just, they know what they're doing in marketing. Yeah.
Second or next, plan cheap events.
Yes. So a good way, of course, to not spend money during the holidays. And we did a lot of this a couple years back, even before kiddos, like baking cookies or volunteering at church or doing something that's, that really doesn't cost a lot, but it really does add to the feeling of the Christmas vibe. Like you still get all of those good feels that you get from the season. It's just not costing any money. Another really fun one, especially right now, Charlie's really into Christmas lights. So just driving around, we did this last night after church, just driving around. Oh gosh, he was so upset when I told him we had to go home, and he just loves like looking at the lights. And so it doesn't cost any money to do that.
It costs somebody money, but not us.
That's right.
Another thing that you could do is you can give or volunteer in your community or your church, right? This season is a great time to give. Our church is really always looking for opportunities to give. And, we're in the season where we're kind of in the season of giving at our church. And so we have opportunities kind of like you can go sponsor a family. You can actually buy them Christmas gifts. And it's kind of like an angel tree thing. So you could do that. We have a great giving initiative all towards missions called Heart for His House that you can plan on how you can give for the upcoming year. But the great thing about things like that is that when you take time and energy, and you say, you know what, I'm specifically going to look at ways that my family can be generous, it suddenly puts you in the perspective of, you know what, some of these material things don't really matter. I remember one year, it was like Black Friday thing. I got a TV on sale. And so I was really excited because we hadn't spent any money. It was just when we were out of debt. And so it was kind of like my first big splurge, and I got a great deal on a TV. I think it was like $400 or $500, right?
Yeah.
And so
we were out of debt.
We're out of debt. This was kind of my celebration. Bought the TV. I even hung the TV up on the wall. And that, I think it was like a Saturday. And then the next day, Sunday, you know, Pastor Rodney's up on stage, our pastor, and he's talking about Heart for His House. And he had mentioned, he was talking about missionaries that we were supporting and about translating the Bible into the language of the people in Gabon in Africa who didn't have the Bible in their own native language. And I felt in my heart as I'm sitting there listening that, you know what in the grand scheme of things, what is more effective for that $500 to do to help translate scripture for the people of Gabon, or to be hung up on the wall as a TV, right, for me? And at that moment, I just felt like, you know what, God just put that in my heart. I'm not saying you should do this all the time, but God put it in my heart that, you know what, I should just return the TV. So I did. So I packed it all up, took it back to Best Buy.
I was so proud of Samson in that moment.
And we gave to Heart for His House, because that, at the end of the day, that's what mattered. But it was, you know, as I look back at that, I have literally no regrets about that decision. In fact, I'm grateful that God put that decision in my heart, a decision for me to make, because it reminded me of what really matters. And so as you look at all the beautiful things that you collect in life, you realize none of this stuff is really meaningful. The only things that really matter is the eternal souls of people, right? And God's word. Those are the two things that last forever. And so
Tim Keller actually says that it's not true generosity until it costs you something in a different department. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I'll just, you know, go a little bit over budget here or whatever, you're not thinking methodically about what that's going to cost you. So what are you going to give up in order to give? So I think once you go through that process of thinking, okay, this TV, what am I going to give up in order to give this? You know, you're going to give up a TV in order to give to something else. And so I just think really thinking about things in those concrete terms helps you to stay in budget, to stay in line, but also to methodically be generous. Yeah. Because that one time just like spurge of generosity, you're not thinking about the cost of it. Ultimately, that can lead you down a road of just not paying attention to your finances. And so you want to be methodical when it comes to these sorts of things.
Yeah. You know, my prayer for you as you're watching this, is that this Christmas season that, you know, you have an encounter with what really matters about Christmas. And that's the story of Jesus, right? Yes. That he saw us in the poverty of who we were. We were spiritually poor. And he stepped into this earth. The king who had everything was born in a manger, and he willingly gave himself as a gift for us. And so as you're in this season, I hope you don't lose, you know, at all the importance and the reason for what this is all about. And you take time, if you don't believe in Jesus, that you take time to research and get to know him a little bit. Maybe you can find a church in your community. But if you do know Jesus, maybe you're a follower of Jesus, that you invest time into inviting somebody to come and get to know him. Because at the end of the day, the two things that are going to last forever, God's word and the eternal souls of people. And hopefully that's what you're investing in.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks so much for watching that video with us, guys. We really appreciate you, and we want to be here for a resource for you. So please feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have.
Also, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you can stay up to date.